Untitled on the beat.
What's good, everyone? It's your boy Natsu with another video for the channel. Welcome back to DMV Sports Zone. And today I got you guys a reaction to our 23-15 win against the San Francisco 49ers and us being on a 4-game winning streak for the first time since early in the 2016 season. It's been a long time since we won this many games in a row, and wow, what a win. Towards the end of the first half and really the entire third quarter, we all thought it was going to be a complete demolishment of the San Francisco 49ers. We were up big and all that, but towards the end of the game, it got a little bit scary, but we ended up pulling the W, and I think we're all happy for it. Just some notes that I ended up writing down about the game. So first and foremost, in the beginning, it was a tough defensive slugfest. I'm not going to lie. It was 0-0. And our offense couldn't generate anything. I'll get a little bit more into that later in this video, but 49ers offense couldn't generate anything, but eventually they did end up scoring a touchdown. I believe it was a rushing touchdown, and did score first in the game. But yeah, it was definitely a defensive slugfest, and Chase Young started off pretty early with a nice sack in the game, and we all thought, Chase Young was going to have a pretty good game, but he had more than just a pretty good game. He had an absolutely monster game that, again, I'll talk about a little bit later. But Mckissick was getting involved, as we all predicted, right, going into this matchup with Antonio Gibson, the stud rookie that we drafted in the third round, not being available with a turf toe injury that could actually linger, which is sort of problematic, especially with the way the offense went today. But Mckissick did pretty well today. I believe he had like 11 rushes for 68 yards and had a couple catches through the air. So he wasn't bad. He had a pretty good yards per carry, and definitely gave us what we needed really out of the running back position, especially with Gibson not being there. Early on, Alex Smith, guys. I talk about this almost every single week, right? Alex Smith, comeback player of the year. In all of our minds, I think there's no question to that, especially after the win last week. And him being so resilient through his injury process, through him recovering, and ultimately through him leading a potentially playoff team. But outside of the comeback story and him giving us a steady leadership, steady presence in that offensive quarterback room, he's just not great, guys. Like, when it comes to quality quarterback play, there's a reason why I still haven't been sold on it. Like, I understand, right? He had a 2-year window where he wasn't playing because of the injury, the infection, and everything he's been through, and kudos to him. Seriously, man, he deserves all the credit in the world, and again, deserves that comeback player of the year award. But he wasn't really good today, and to be honest, he's had a couple of these games over the course of his Washington career, right? I know in Kansas City, San Francisco is a little bit different, but in Washington, there have been a couple of games where the defense has sort of carried us to wins, and Alex Smith hasn't looked too hot, right? I think the Colts game from a couple years back, admittedly, right, a couple years back, kind of first comes to mind when it comes to those sort of games, but wasn't really great. We all saw it. We all talk about it on Twitter. Just was not throwing the ball well, was missing guys that were open. I believe Terry was open once, and some other guys as well. So not a great showing whatsoever from Alex Smith. But early on in the game, I mean, Dustin Hopkins was also missing kicks, so it wasn't all on Alex Smith in terms of us not scoring points, right? There was plenty of blame to go around on this team, on this offense, on the special teams, and the defense, though, was, again, what really carried us to the win. Despite that, Nick Mullins did have some good throws early on. He looked pretty accurate early on, right, before we all saw what happened in the second half, but Mostert was running the ball pretty well. Jeff Wilson as well was sprinkled in a bit, and even though the 49ers did jump out to that 7-0 lead, like I said, our defense was absolutely amazing throughout the game, right? Usually it takes us until the second half, until the third quarter, for us to really get into the swing of things and for our defense to really show out, right? We all know we're a third quarter, second half type of team, but today it was a different story. Our defense was balling out throughout the game, and there was a big sack by Kevin Pierre-Louis towards the beginning of the game where he just bulldozed over Kyle Juszczyk, the fullback, the all-pro / Pro Bowl fullback from the 49ers, and he just bulldozed over him and got the sack, and that really was sort of a momentum shift, right? Because at that point, I believe we were down 7-0, and we needed a big defensive play, and Kevin Pierre-Louis gave us that. He gave us really solid play throughout the game, really, and he did go out with the injury. I believe he didn't return, but you guys can correct me if I'm wrong in the comments, but I think hopefully we can have him the next couple games because we need him, especially in that linebacker core that isn't too great at this point. But Alex Smith did start connecting with Terry before going down with that injury. But even before that, Chase Young was balling. He first had a sack, then a big fumble, and was really good in containing the runs, really good at just generating consistent pressure. And ultimately, though, we only scored one field goal off of that, a big fumble early on in the game, and we just couldn't really generate points throughout the game, but especially with Alex Smith out there. But oh my, Chase Young, before the end of the first half, stepped up with a absolutely monstrous fumble recovery for a touchdown, right? We all saw Deron Payne with the strip sack, and Deron Payne's been balling really throughout the season. We all know that, but Chase Young with that fumble recovery and that return touchdown, and oh my gosh, that really boosted everybody's spirits, of course, and ultimately that put us up on top after really struggling for most of the game. And again, our offense couldn't generate points, so our defense had to generate those points for us, and he ultimately did do that before the first half concluded. And then and then we saw Dwayne Haskins come in, right? Alex Smith got injured with that calf injury, and you know, it sucks because Alex Smith has been giving us that steady presence, albeit early on in this game wasn't really too hot. But Haskins did come in, and we were wondering what would he show us after a couple months of being benched. Would he show us some progression? Would he show us some improved play? And personally, I don't think we saw that today. I don't think Dwayne Haskins, I still don't think he's the future here in DC, and he didn't really show us, he didn't really prove me otherwise, didn't prove a lot of people out there otherwise today. He did throw to Mckissick and Thomas a couple times pretty early in the game. It looked kind of accurate, really. He drove us down the field, although it was more so a running game that really ended up leading us to a first and goal situation, but he did have a couple good throws, and we managed a field goal on that drive, not a touchdown. Jeremy Sprinkle also had a drop on that drive, and we all know how everyone feels about Jeremy Sprinkle, especially me on this channel, man. Jeremy Sprinkle, why is he still on this team? Why is he still on this team? He needs to get off, man. And but no, he was pretty good early, but I mean, it was the defense once again. Like, you got a Montez Sweat sack, you got a consistent pressure from Jonathan Allen, although he did go out of the game with an injury, but is that defensive line that was really ferocious throughout the game, carried us to that win. There was some good runs, though, by Peyton Barber, right? We all know how I feel about Peyton Barber on this channel. I think he's a great short yardage back, great goal line back, but when it comes to giving him a bunch of carries over the course of the game, he's not going to get you a bunch of yards, and we kind of saw that today, albeit he did have some more nice runs, and I'll be honest, he's had a couple of good games now of really good production, and hopefully we continue to see that out of Peyton Barber, especially with Antonio Gibson probably not being back soon. We'll see, man. It's a lingering toe injury, so we'll see. But I do want to get to someone who I know all of us are high on, and that is Cameron Curl, right? Cameron Curl, the 7th round hidden gem that we found. Kyle Smith, what a find, man. Personally, I think he's locked down the strong safety position for at least the next couple of years. I really believe that. He's shown me enough, right? I've been a little bit hesitant. I want to see more. And for him, though, he's that lockdown strong safety, in my opinion, that we could put back there and really rely on for a couple of years. And I think Landon Collins, that's going to be the real question, right? I think he should move to an outside linebacker spot because we can't really cut him. Maybe we could trade him, but he has a big contract and didn't really play too well with that contract, so I don't know if teams want him, but I think Cameron Curl has to be a strong safety for us, if not get really, really, really good reps, really good snaps for a couple of years in the future, because he's that good. But yeah, Kyle Juszczyk did bounce back towards the end of the second half with a touchdown after getting completely demolished by Kevin Pierre-Louis, but I mean, that was pretty much it, right? At that point, I believe it was 15-23, and the 49ers did look to have some sort of momentum, but Chase Young stepped up. He had a pass deflection. You know, Dwayne Haskins wasn't playing too well. He had a bad pass that almost turned into a pick, but it didn't. It got overturned, and yeah, John Bostic, You know, again, someone who I have trashed on this channel, I'm not going to lie, someone who I don't like, who I don't think is anything more than a backup linebacker on a really good team. He did step up as well, right? Again, he and Payne Barber have stepped up the last couple of weeks, and I'll eat my crow, right? And I know Corey's probably going to be out there and say, Nazi, I told you, man, John Bostic, he is pretty good, and he gave us pretty good play today, had a nice pass defense on 3rd and 1, a key pass defense that ultimately led the 49ers to punt the ball on 4th down. It was a really good play, and kudos to him for giving us a really good game today. And the 49ers did pin us back, and that really frightened me because of the fact that, you know, we were on the 1-yard line with Dwayne Haskins. Alex Smith wasn't back there. You don't know what you're going to get out of Haskins, but ultimately Payne Barber had a couple good runs and really got us to, I believe it was like the 10-yard line, so we could punt eventually. But yeah, man, it came down to that 4th down play at the end of the game, and Darby and Bostic again, stepped up and defended Kendrick Bourne and ultimately saved the game for us, and we again ended up winning 23-15. We are now 6-7. We are at top of the NFC East right now. The Giants did lose earlier today to the Arizona Cardinals, and we are at the top of the NFC East, and right now we control our own destiny, right? If we could continue to win, that will make the playoffs. That's what it is at this point. We have 3 games left. We have next week against the Seattle Seahawks, which is going to be extremely tough. I know they did lose to the Giants last week, but they beat the Jets this week. Admittedly, a terrible team, but they beat a team 40-3 this week. So we'll see if these Seahawks can keep that going against the Washington football team. But I have faith in our team. I have faith that we're going to show at least really good production next week, if not win the game outright. I'll get to that towards the end of the week with the game prediction, but I believe in our team, man. We're on a 4-game winning streak. We could keep this going, man. We could keep this going, hopefully into the playoffs. We'll see. The Giants are still there. We'll see if they win a couple games because they do ultimately have the tiebreaker, but nah, I'm just happy, man. What a great way to close out the Sunday, and on to Seattle next week. You know, I do want to say, though, Terry McLaurin wasn't too involved in the game. He was injured, I believe, in the first half, and he's been dealing with an injury the last couple games now. A lot of people might not realize that, but he has, and he only had 2 catches for 24 yards. But besides that, man, defense, Chase Young, Deron Payne, Kevin Pierre-Louis, so on and so forth, are studs, and ultimately pulled out the W. And Logan Thomas, I do want to say, lastly, didn't have too great of a game. He had 6 catches for 43 yards. But this is why I talked to Corey about this. I talked to Abdullah about this from He Got Sports. This is why I want to see more out of Logan Thomas before I crown him the tight end one for us for the foreseeable future. I really want to see more. I do think he definitely deserves a spot on this team, and could serve that Vernon Davis role for us for a long time. But I want to see more out of him. I want to see more out of the offense, really, because it just hasn't been good in the last couple of weeks, but especially this week, of course. But that's it for this video, guys. Thank you guys so much for watching. It's a little bit long, but I wanted to give you a full rundown, especially with school being over for the quarter, and I'm here, and I got the free time to give you guys some really good analysis about the game. And yeah, definitely a big win. Got to see it with my family, and they were stoked as well. And hopefully we get another win in Seattle, keep things going with a 5-game winning streak. Fingers crossed. Peace, man.